Preparing. We are live and TGIF, Lori. It is the beginning of a holiday weekend. Ready to party.
Yay, yay. You know, that's the indication that summer's over, even though technically summer is not over, but it's always the indication. Do you remember when we were kids? We didn't start school till the day after Labor Day, and Labor Day was the last holiday for the summer, and we knew that the next day we had to go to school. And these poor kids, they have to go back to school in August. But so yeah, for all of us adults, I think Labor Day is kind of significance for me. I kind of take it as a new year, almost like New Year's.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's how I kind of take it. In fact, I've already started thinking about some goals I wanted to start doing. So this next week, kind of like a new year, you know, summer's over, new year. So
maybe kind of like a new fall season.
A new fall season.
Yeah.
In fact, we are starting a new fall season. So next week, make sure you check out. We're going to be starting a fall season. We got some great people lined up for interviews. We have some awesome ideas, but right now we're going to keep it a little secret.
Yeah.
So, do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, I have a feeling that everybody's going to see a little bit more of us. I have a feeling they're going to see us in a couple different capacities, and we've got a couple projects underway. So it's going to be fun. So I'm very excited because anything I get to do with you, Lori, we get to do together for good purpose and any greatness we can do, you know? So anyways, but what do you think we're going to talk about today?
Well, we're going to talk about a subject that I know well that I do wrong. How's that sound?
Oh, no.
Maybe this is going to be part of my fall New Year thing. But some of the stuff I don't do right. But we're going to talk about 7 worst habits for your brain. And these are things that we really have to be conscious about. You know, you think that we do things and, you know, you kind of slip off. You don't do things when you're supposed to. And you're going to say, oh, I'm going to be better tomorrow. Well, as we get older, that really is hard on our brain because we are at that point where things make a difference in our health. You know, it makes a difference in everybody's health, but as we get older, it seems like it's harder and harder. Mm-hmm. So with that, Debbie, I'm going to send it over to you because I know you know a lot of these things real well. So,
well, you know, it's not so much, you know, I've been doing, as a lot of people know a little bit about what I've been into, you know, off of what we're doing here, you know, off spectrum a little bit here, is that, you know, I've been really learning a lot about the brain in the last couple of years, you know, I've actually, and again, I've said this a couple of times, and Lori and I, we've said it together, you know, we don't really give our brain enough credit, you know? I mean, when you think about what our brain controls, sometimes we're just not really in tune with that, okay? I mean, there's so many things that happen to our bodies and that we can actually help to make better choices to combat the bad habits, which can escalate into other situations. Okay. And you know, we've talked about this many times, and the brain to gut health is so important. The brain and your nervous system is so important. The brain and your vascular system is so important, and all that kind of stuff. But, you know, anything that we do though in life, you know, there's that whole saying, the glass is half empty, the glass is half full. And I want to pride Lori and I'm going to say that I know a lot of times we have many discussions about half empty, half full, but I think we both really, really, really strive to be half full. Okay. And we try, but we fall off the wagon too, guys. We have our moments and we have our situations, but when you accentuate so much negative in your personal person, you know, grudges, it could be pessimistic thoughts, it could be negative, it could be all kinds of stuff. You know, they're saying that you can link to some cognitive decline, and there's a lot of people that have, you know, predisposed things that are in your system, sometimes due to toxins, due to gunk out there, whatever, and those things can kind of come out, you know, they can kind of so what don't we want to strive to do the best we can to keep our brains in check. Okay. So I think that we got to think about that. You know, when we developed and talked about this whole platform that we've been doing stuff off of, every little subject that we do, Lori and I just had this conversation before we start talking, it all kind of goes connected together. It's almost like the pieces of the puzzle, like, oh yeah, that's right. If I keep that area going on, okay, because if I don't, and I fall off the wagon with it, it could put a flag over here that accelerates something else. So let's all try really hard. And you can make a list of things that you are grateful for, and,
Right.
and do the positive, you guys. I try to do this, all the time. I say my prayers with my grandson, and sometimes I'm like, or he's going to church at school, and I'm like, okay, pray for us, but be thankful. Thank God for everything you have. Because it could be worse, or you could have challenges. We got to really go on the thankfulness, even if it's the silliest things, guys. Some of the silliest things, you pull into the supermarket place, wherever you go, and you get a front row parking space, just, oh, thank you, God, thank you, but I mean, just anything, and I think also we have to remember that we have to breathe right, and these are some things that we honestly have to be conscious of, because if you get yourself in a panic, and you throw yourself into anxiety, and then you don't feel well, it's just crazy. And when negative thoughts come your way, you got to say goodbye to them. You got to just don't think that way, And I know Lori and I talk about a lot of this, and I'll tell my kids sometimes when they're trying to make a decision on something, put the two things on a piece of paper, like the positive and the negative, but look at the more positive to figure out what your decisions should be, And so these are kind of things that I'm thinking of when trying to combat the habit of being negative, kind of steamrolls into others. And Laura, I know, what's your take on all this? I know you've got some great stuff that you practice as well.
I like the idea about the deep breath. I do that. I make lists too. And it's so easy to go to that negative spot where everything is going on in this world right now. And, if you could just kind of think of good things, and maybe turn off the TV and not watch the news so much.
Yeah.
And, maybe spend some time, I know being with grandkids, even just doing FaceTime with them is just such a great thing, get in touch with friends, and stuff. And, I was reading here in this list that we got, and remember, we're not experts on this. We do research. So, but it also, if you have a negative, as you get older and you have all this negative thoughts, that could actually aggravate somebody that's going to have Alzheimer's and stuff like that. And, everybody always worries about that, Alzheimer's and dementia and all that. So why not get rid of the negative and do the positive? Okay. Remember that saying, if you don't have anything good to say, don't say it at all. So even with yourself, do that.
Right.
Because, it's just, like I said, it's so hard, even though now everything's going to start locking down a little bit. Everybody's going to start getting at a negative spot again. But let's think of all the positive things that we could do. This is an opportunity for us to take out a pen and paper and draw, write a note, I just got a message from somebody the other day that their mother is in hospice. And I asked her if I could send a note, and I'm going to mail one out today. And so just to bring joy to somebody in that situation. But there's just so many things to stay away from that negative. And you know what? Everything, like Debbie says, all meshes together.
Mm-hmm.
All the stuff we're talking today is all meshes together. Right. So with that, we're going to go on to, you have anything else, Deb, before I go on?
No, that's good. No, I'm good.
Great. Is drink sugary beverages, or even the diet beverages are not good for you. Mm-hmm. Those things, first of all, are going to spike your insulin, which you're going to have. Anybody that's a diabetic, that's the wrong thing to do. Mm-hmm. And, it just, too much of that is no good for you. There's so many calories in a Coke. I mean, mm-hmm. You can use that to eat good food and that. So, but, even fruit juice has a lot of sugar in it. A lot of people think that you get up in the morning and you drink a glass of orange juice And that might not be the best thing for you because it could spike your sugar up. And I don't know if any of you, I'm a diabetic, so I know how it feels when my sugar spikes. It's terrible. I mean, I get a little bit disoriented. I can't concentrate. So basically, it ruins most of my day. So I don't know. This is just a thought I had. If you're an orange juice person in the morning, maybe you could add some water to it to kind of dilute it a little bit so it's not so much sugar in your body and stuff. And water is always the best thing to drink, you know, and it is really, I mean, a lot of people like me, I have to have my water on ice.
Yeah, I do too.
I mean, certain people have to drink, some people like it warm, but the water is the greatest thing for you to get your energy and everything. It really boosts up your energy. It's good for your skin. It's good for your body. You're going to be able to concentrate more. You might be in the bathroom more, but that's okay. But I don't know, Deb, do you have anything to say about that? Because you're a big water drinker. So
I'm a big water drinker, but you just said something that is really cool, that in this paper that, you know, just so you guys all know, we don't just pull this out of anywhere. We have articles and we research and we do this. And this actually, I'm going to read this verbatim. A 2017 study associated sugary beverage consumption with poor episodic memory. Okay, as well as lowering your total brain volume and hippocranial volume, whichever that means. It's okay, which makes sense. Okay, so obviously, what is it talking about? It's the function of your brain. So if that sugar isn't healthy for it and you're putting that in there, that's not a good thing. Also, it talks about an exaggerated insulin response in many people also triggers chronic inflammation in the brain. So if you're getting inflammation in the brain, could that quite possibly trigger or impede what the brain can do? Okay, so we know that every certain area of your brain is something. Memory is one, and they speak of that a lot. Okay, do you ever have where you just can't remember something? I'm going to start to see if I can, when things like that happen, I'm going to try to maybe make a mental note. Did I not drink enough water that day? Did I not really take care of myself? Did I eat maybe too much sugar, or did I do something different? It's very possible. You never want to starve yourself. You never want to go without eating for a long time. It's better to eat little smaller portions. And they say when you do things like that, it just totally like throws off everything. So it makes common sense, like that our brain is not going to function properly if we're not fueling our body properly, because it's not like you're putting it in and it's your stomach that you're taking care of. Sure, you got the stomach pain going on and you're like, hey, I'm hungry, right? But when it comes to what's your body doing and functioning, it's like everything moving together, all the moving parts. So, you know, the water, like Lori said, perfect idea. Add some, if you really have to have your orange juice, add some water to it, you know, dilute it. It's not going to hurt you, you know? So, moving into a next one, Lori, this is one I know you and I talk about a lot. And I know, holy moly, guacamole, there's times where, and I know, Lori, you should get challenged. I get challenged at different times, especially when things are weighing on me. But if you don't sleep healthy enough, I mean, let's face it, you guys, if your body does not sleep well enough and you don't get that REM sleep going on, your brain is not resting either. You know, we rejuvenate. Our immune system rejuvenates while we're sleeping. Our brain is constantly building new cells. I mean, you're gonna run yourself down. Your potential of getting sick is possible. You know, then what you're doing is your brain and your body is working in overtime. So now what you're doing is you're putting stress not only on your body, okay, but you're also putting stress on your brain, you know, because your brain needs that, you know, shutdown kind of situation, you know. So, I mean, and then also it's not good for your oxygen intake. It's not good everything's not cycling right, you know. Okay. So, and that could be, you know, not sleeping well. Maybe, you know, you have sleep apnea. Maybe you've got something going on. Maybe you need to consult with a doctor. Maybe you need to check something out, you know. So I do know a couple remedies that are really good for sleeping. And one of them is there's, you know, an alternative situation that people can talk to me. I can explain if you're kind of challenged, that will help you. But Lori, honest to God, this is something you and I talk about all the time. And there has been times where I've gotten up to go to the restroom in the middle of the night. I check something on my phone, which is the wrong thing to do. And then I see you just posted something. So I know you go through it. I know you do.
Yeah, I do. I suffer with that a lot. And, but the thing is, not being on the internet or on your phone before you go to bed. That's going to be one of my goals that I'm going to do, because I do. We're on the computer, Gary and I, or we're doing some research on stuff, and we just get really involved in it. And then I go to sleep, and he's up, watching TV, and then he goes to sleep, and then I'm up, go to the bathroom, and then I'm on there. And the thing is, with people that suffer with chronic illness, like me with inflammation and stuff, your body does not get to the point where it relaxes and you wake up and you have all this pain and inflammation. Now, if I sleep, and I sleep for a long time, I wake up and my legs and everything feel great. I mean, my legs are like half the size. My joints don't hurt. So sleep is really important. I'm going to try doing something. I have a pair of those things that you put on your eyes that are black, to cover your eyes. I think maybe that will help me, but I'm sure everybody has those issues, especially, like, again, I don't mean to keep bringing back what's going on in this world, but there's a lot of people that can't sleep because their mind is racing constantly. The best thing too is to put some nice soft music on. Okay. And everybody, I think, knows that I'm a strong Christian and all that. And what I did the other night is I have this rosary thing on the YouTube that I put on that was like a 3-hour rosary. And I just put it on and I just kind of fell asleep. Not that I was doing it, just listening. It's very soft and soothing, and and I was in a pray mode. But for anybody else, soft music, let's just try to detach ourselves from everything that's going on. Like Debbie said, sleep is so important to us in so many ways, building cells. I mean, that's how our body recovers from everything,
Right.
And that's all I have to say on that. Do you have anything else, Debbie?
No, I'm good. So, well, here, I got one, cranking up the earphones. Listen, I'm reading this to myself right now as I'm looking at this, and I'm going, you know what? I got to talk to my grandson. This younger generation, man, they got this stuff on so loud, this gaming stuff, and everything is just like ridiculous. But, there's a little blurb in here, and it said that in a study of 639 adults aged 36 to 90, mild hearing loss was associated with a nearly trifold likelihood of dementia. Now, I don't know how this study works and how that all goes, but I think that we should probably turn down the noise and just be careful here, because not only is it bad, but you know what? How could it be good to be so loud, so near your ear? When you think about it right here, So I don't know if you've got any take on that, Lori, because, I don't know how your grandkids are yet, but man, mine is at it too. It's too loud.
They are all out of control. I mean, I have 2 grandkids that are really young, but my other granddaughter, she's almost 6, but yeah, they all do. And even like, my son, my younger son, that he's going to be 24, he's always listened to loud things, and they all think that's just wonderful, but they don't realize what kind of damage it does. I personally think that some of the issues with our hearing as we get older is from us listening to a lot of loud music and stuff when we were younger.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, and, that's what it is all about. But, it's like, how do you stop people from doing that? Well, I guess you need to talk to them about it and realize it. This is an old saying, okay? Nobody realizes at the time when they're doing stuff, especially when they're young, what kind of consequences they're going to have when they get older, okay? And that is a very, very true statement, and I tell people all the time, because of my health issues, take care of what you have now. You don't realize it until you get older, how you could have done things different. And this is one of the things that is huge.
Right.
You know, listening to TV too loud, the main thing is the earphones, because it goes right into your ears.
Right.
You know, so that's all I have to say about that. But I do recommend that everybody kind of talk to their grandkids about it. I know that, and their children about it, but again, they're going to look at you like, oh yeah, okay. But maybe you could find something on YouTube for them to watch, or something about how that is not good for their hearing. Sometimes they don't like to listen to us, but they'll listen to something on YouTube.
Oh yeah, totally.
We don't know what we're talking about. What do we know what we're talking about? So that's just
I agree.
That. So, but with that, then, this is huge for me. Okay. You regularly take different types of medication. All right. When you take medication, all right, you got to be careful about what other medication you might take over the counter, because it might interact with what medication you're taking now. Okay, so a lot of abuse of a medication over the counter are things like antihistamines. I'm trying to think of some other stuff. Stuff for like your bladder, or anything to do with, I'm trying to think of, big one is ibuprofen. Because the ibuprofen is known to really kind of hurt your kidneys. So you got to be really careful. And another thing too that I want to make a note is the fact that trying to take your medication at the same time every day. And, I'm kind of guilty of that. I do it in the morning and I have medication at night, but I think, I'm going to use the use of my phone from now on. And that's going to be my new Labor Day thing. I'm going to put the timer on my phone for the morning and the night, and that's when I'll take the medication. So I know I'm taking it at the same time and stuff. So that's a very common problem. Your body doesn't function the way it's supposed to with the medications if you don't take them at the right time. And that could cause so many problems in your body. But like it says in this thing is that if you regularly take a drug in one of these categories, don't panic. It says here, but if you regularly take a number of these, it makes sense to ask your doctor about the risk and discuss about what you should do for an alternate. And these are medications like I was talking about, antihistamines, what was some of the other one? Antidepressants, stuff for overactive bladder, and again, all these medications, especially if you see a lot of different doctors too, you need to make sure that everybody's on the same page to know all the medications you're taking. For example, and I don't mean to keep using myself for example, but that's all I really have, is I take a multiple of different antidepressants, okay? It's because some of the antidepressants are for my inflammation. Some of it is for something else, but they all got some kind of an antidepressant in it. So I always worry about that I have too much antidepressant in me, but all the doctors said that the quantities that I have will work okay together. But if my doctors didn't talk to each other or didn't know each other's prescriptions, there's different prescriptions, I would be like going goofy right now. That's just a thought. Deb, what do you have on all this?
Well, one thing I was reading here, it says the said stuff that you just mentioned about the different medications, some over the counter, some prescribed. Some of them can block the actions of a certain chemical in your brain that helps your learning and your memory. So now we're going back and forth a little bit, learning, memory, all this kind of stuff, all these things that can affect it. And I think my takeaway right now is in any given point, if you can avoid certain things you have to do. There's no doubt. I mean, if you don't do it, you're not going to be able to function. I'm not saying you, I'm saying anyone. And I'm saying that we should all be aware of the ramifications. So if there's a ramification where that could possibly be, but you really need to take that item, maybe there's something else you can do to enhance your neurological function. And, that's something that I do a lot with. I work with this one company that it helps. There's certain items that we have of technology that you can wear on your body that help you in order to keep your body functioning. Because sometimes there's like things that we have to take, like you said, that are really considered, that have to be done, but they also can have a toxic effect in other areas. So as it's helping something here, then it's doing something not so good over here. So if we want to combat some of that, there's some really significant things that we can do. So, I can do a whole seminar on that. And I do have the access of that stuff. If somebody hears and you're listening to me and you're saying, I want to know more about it, please reach out to me. I'll be happy to tell you and talk about it, because it definitely is really important. And I know sometimes it could even just be the diet too that we do along with it to help combat or to help enhance. Do you ever hear foods that are enriched in certain like nutrients and also vitamins that are good for your brain? I don't have any of those listed right here, but I'm sure that there's a lot of them out there that will help. Those are the things that you want to try to also add into your diet as a good thing. Try to keep some balance in there, so but I think also with all this, Lori, I think that this is something that you and I always focus on, and we're trying really hard. We try, sometimes we struggle. I know that sometimes we even say things to each other like, oh, I got so much of this to do or so much of that to do. But sometimes, we have to also look at like what are we here for? Like what our purpose is. And I know, Lori, there's times where you're doing stuff that you'll say, oh my gosh, and I'll say, oh my gosh, I think that the reason that we're doing this particular project or doing this is because we were intended to help others. Okay. And that's exactly the purpose that we started this. It's exactly the start. That's exactly where it came from. I always laugh. I go, two crazy chicks on the phone talking one day saying, we need to do something and we need to help others because, so I thank God we have a purpose in this. I look forward to helping others. And I know, Lori, you and I have that way, we want to help our family. We help our kids. We like to do stuff with our grandkids, but someone might be listening to us right now that doesn't have a lot of purpose going on. Like they don't have maybe a lot of things that they're, part of, and you really, really need to see if you can focus on what is your purpose. Like, what can you do? What is it? If you don't have something that you're able to help out with in some way, whether it's family related or your daily responsibilities, maybe you could talk to your local church, or maybe you could talk to like some of the organizations. There's people that need help. And because I'll tell you, when you have a sense of desire of things that you are able to do that make you feel good, it's kind of I want to use the word cleansing, but I'm just going to say it's kind of like you're keeping yourself going, otherwise you could fall into a very like really dark place. Right. And we started talking about the half empty cup to the half full cup, and so we all want to have full cups, okay, in a good, positive way, right? So, or maybe it is that you have a neighbor or somebody around you that needs some help and you can actually offer to do an errand for them. Maybe it's not going and doing something at their house. Maybe it's like picking up something for them, picking up something at the store. I don't know. But Lori, I know you have a lot that you could say on this too, because I know you've got a good takeaway.
What they're basically talking about here is, when you're younger and you're running around with your kids and you're busy and you're working and you're working full time and all that, but then you get to a point where your kids are grown up,
right?
They're with their families, and then you start thinking about, well, what is really my purpose? What's my purpose here?
Right.
What am I supposed to be doing? And that's when you really need it. If you think about it, that's actually a blessing. Because you remember when you were younger and you were so busy and everything, you're like, oh, I can't wait for the day where I could just kind of do something for myself. Take baby steps. Figure out something you want to do and start doing it. And eventually you'll start finding some other things to do. And, you know, we are so blessed that we're in an age where we can get on Facebook, we could get on social media, we could do all kinds of research and stuff, you know, and there's just so many things that you could do. And that's going to keep you positive. Right. That's going to keep you going every day, because like we talked about at the beginning, negative thoughts actually make our health worse. We don't want to get to that point. We want to get to the point where we're surviving in a positive way. So I know we were a little longer today, and thank you for taking the time to listen to us. We so appreciate it. But I know we probably should let everybody go back to what they were doing at lunch or whatever. But Deb, do you have anything else to say? Otherwise, we could finish this off and say good.
I was just going to say, you know, like one more quick thing. And thank you again. Like we say, please just keep sharing our information. You guys are going to be excited to hear some of the cool things we have going. We got lots in store. We're excited. And with that, Laura, you want to close us out?
Oh, sure. You guys have a wonderful weekend. Enjoy Labor Day. I heard in the Chicago area, the weather is going to be absolutely beautiful. Time with family and friends. And don't forget to enjoy life.
Yep.
All right. Goodbye, everyone. We'll see you next
time. Have a great one. Bye. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.